Well, this is take two for the BMW i8. We're very lucky that we tested it out on the frozen lake in Sweden. That was about 6 months ago. But it's the chance to get behind the wheel. And this is going to be a bit of a rush video because I'm not really allowed to film this car in details. So they're just covering up the dash so we can go in it. So you have to bear with us because this car doesn't actually get released until the Frankfurt show. That's in about a month's time when we'll finally see the exterior of it and the interior. And we don't get to drive it until early 2014. So this is a sneak preview of what this i8 is all about. So let's take it on track. So okay, this is my first go in it behind the wheel. Slightly unfortunate that there's a workshop when we sort of learn the details of the car later on today. But I'm in the first group, so we're going straight out on track. I'm with Jos van As, who is head of development for BMW, is that right?
No, I'm responsible for the vehicle dynamics and the chassis tuning at BMW Group.
And that's right across the whole range of cars at
Except
BMW,
the M's.
isn't it?
Except
the
the
M's.
Okay.
Okay, so you've been with this project you've been living this car for quite a while now, haven't you? Since 2010, isn't it?
Yeah, from the beginning we were involved. So it's one of our, let's say, more interesting babies.
I bet it certainly is. I mean, it's a geeky car. I'm going to try and keep off the geekiness because there's so much detail in this car. Just get a sense of what it's all about. Think of it as it's a 911 Carrera 4 type of car. Is it a Maserati Gran Turismo? Is it a replacement for a 6 Series? It's in that ballpark. So it's an everyday performance car is how they sell it. And we're setting off, what are we in? Presumably we're in comfort, aren't we? Which is the standard setting. So I'm in electric, aren't I? Is that how it works at the moment?
Yeah, you're in the hybrid mode.
Okay.
Which is the standard startup mode. And
so when
we will do some other modes later.
Okay. So in this comfort mode, will the engine cut in if I accelerate it?
Yep, that's correct. You can drive electrically up to 65 kph.
Yeah.
And if you apply the throttle, if you want to have some more power, then the combustion engine kicks in.
Okay.
So you hear it now at the back a little bit.
That's super subtle, isn't it? Yeah. You can hardly tell it coming. There it is. Like you think this is 95% there, this car on?
Yeah, we still have to do some fine-tuning, especially refinement, how the engines are working together, the gearbox application, as well as the stability control.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have still some fine-tuning to do, but we are convinced that we can show you the car at this stage and that you get the first impression in how the car will be.
Such a 911 type of sound, isn't it? It's induction sound. It's good sound.
So I'll switch to electric mode now for you.
Okay.
So we can do the full electric acceleration on the connecting road.
Okay.
You may stop here for a second, and then you can try this electric acceleration.
It's a bit of a straight here.
Yeah, it goes.
So is that okay to stop here?
Yeah.
Okay, we're just going to try electric only acceleration. And here we go. Try and go flat out, you kick the engine in. There we are. More than adequate. And that goes up to 6. No, if I go over
20 kph.
So you can go 120.
Yep.
Yeah, the regen isn't as aggressive, which is good. It's not as aggressive as I was expecting either.
You would like to keep this, let's say, natural feeling for a sports car.
Yeah.
Too aggressive would be... It's okay for a car like an i3, like a mega city vehicle, but if you're driving, let's say, more on the country roads, etc., we really aimed for let's say a classic sports car feeling.
Yeah, you're not going to feel alienated with this at all.
Hybrid mode?
We're in hybrid mode, onto the handling circuit, here we go. And because I gave a little bit of a boot, the engine's come in. I am feeling very much an electric steering rack on this car, hasn't it? which I suppose is necessary because it's running without an engine, isn't it? Well, it's quite accurate. I'm on the larger tyre option here, aren't I? 2.5.
Yes,
fronts.
that's correct.
Now in sports mode, so the engine's always there. It's the big surprise actually, getting behind the wheel first time, is I'm not really noticing any sort of turbo lag. It's instant power, and you know where that power's coming. It feels very well sorted. I have to say, there's a lot of work I think to get it to this stage. It's not really a super sporting tyre whip on there this time.
No, it's correct.
It's Bridgestone.
It's Bridgestone. It's made exclusively for this car.
Yeah.
Due to its size.
You were saying you can adjust the traction control on this. You've got several settings. Yes.
Yep. We've got the full system. We've got the DTC, the dynamic traction control mode, and of course we can switch all systems off.
Changing up at the limiter, isn't it?
Yeah, that's still a bug we have, which has to be fixed. Accelerated, can't it? A 135i, It's a bit quicker.
It's a bit quicker than 135i, yeah. Okay, well that's the end of our go. That was ace. What's got me is it's much more natural to drive than I was expecting. I'm not feeling I'm in a hybrid, ultra clever car that I have to sort of keep brain engaged, swapping from mode to mode. It feels completely natural from behind the wheel, which I think you're balancing three, motors. Everything that's going on, I'm surprised, pleasantly surprised. And also the fact that regen isn't completely taken over the experience. And it makes a great noise. Yeah. Anyway, it's a lot more to learn. We're going to do the workshops now and just find the intimate details of this i8. Okay, well we've been in the i8 now, we've had the drive around the test track. This is it undressed. We've got this version where you can actually see the mechanicals and the layout of this car. The car's so unique, I think it's worth just taking you around. There's the same electric motors you get in the i3 there. This one, 125 kilowatts, but they're not actually using all the horsepower in this one because of the size of the battery isn't as big as on the i3. But what's unique about this front electric motor on the i8 is it's got a 2-speed gearbox. There you are, hiding down there, there's the diff down there. It's the first time that's been done. It is a single speed in the i3, but they've given it that to give it the sort of real dynamic punch off the line. It's 11:1 ratio in first gear, and that actually means that when it deploys all its horsepower, when you put your foot flat down, it actually has enough torque to actually almost spin the front wheels, and that's why they get that 4.6 time to 0 to 62, because that electric motor can deliver all its torque. If you have it in electric mode, it runs up to 120 kilometers an hour in its first gear, but generally it's working in second gear apart from off the standstill. So you're still using that electric power all the way to its top speed of 250 kilometers an hour. When you get to the cabin itself, it's quite a tight aperture, this carbon design. It's hinged up here. The doors are obviously not fitted, but there's the battery sitting down the spine of the car right at the front, because the important thing with this car is they've actually created its 50-50 weight distribution, the ideal weight distribution of this car, and they've kept the mass as close as they can to the centre of the car. In the back it's pretty compromised, the rear seats. There's a fuel tank underneath there, and then we move around to the back, and hey presto, we have the 3-cylinder engine with the automatic gearbox alongside. This is basically out of a transverse engined Mini, which we're going to see in the future. But there is another electric motor which you can hardly see, but it is tucked down there. And the surprise of that one, it's a 10 kilowatt motor, and that motor acts as a generator, as a starter motor, and actually fills in power for when the turbo's building boost. So it has, to get an instantaneous throttle response, they actually use that motor. But it's actually belt driven, which I'm very surprised at. I presumed it was actually fixed into the drivetrain, but it's belt driven off the motor and transmits or feeds off the motor to actually power the car. But there you go. So super lightweight structure. They've reduced the size of the battery to about 7 kilowatt hours, which is about a third of the size on the i8, purely to get the weight down. So they wanted to hit that target of 1490 kilos, and they're actually just below that. But a super bit of kit. Well, that's been a great day to enjoy the i8 on a test track like this, and to get to know all the little details on this fascinating car. There is so much tech on this car, and I can't get over it. You've got 3 power points, you're balancing those, but when you're actually behind the wheel, the big surprise for me is you're not really conscious of it. You hear this peculiar 3-cylinder throb in the back. It's a good sound from inside, but you're balancing all these separate power plants, but you're not conscious of it. You're just driving this car that feels very light, very agile, and really quite engaging. At the price point, it's going to be around £100,000 there or thereabouts in the UK. You're going to get a £5,000 grant from the government for buying one, which is just hilarious, because I don't think it's the sort of car that Mr. Cameron thought we're all buying to go into the city centre of London. But you do. They're rating it actually about 50 grams per kilometre. So an average MPG on the slightly ludicrous EU cycle, about 113 miles a gallon. But it's a 155 mile an hour car, it's 4.6 to 60, something like that. And that price point puts it against hardcore competition like the 911. It's not a 911 competitor really, it's a bit softer, and I think this car is going to be defined by its tyres. Standard tyres on it, 195 at the front, 215 at the rear. That's the size you find on the Lotus Elise, but they're 20-inch diameter. There is a sports pack that puts that up to 215, 245, but they're not super sporting type of compound. So think of the Toyota GT86 and the Subaru BRZ. That car was nimble, felt different, and its handling is based around having a little bit of slip, a bit more, not ultimate lap time sort of car, but just engaging to drive. That's what the i8 is like. I think it's an incredible achievement, because we've got these other hybrid sporty cars like the 918 and the McLaren P1, and they're all about super speed, but they're around €1 million. This car, roughly a tenth of the price. Well, that's quite an interesting combination. One thing I think BMW have played an absolute blinder on is the design. Nothing looks so futuristic on the road as this i8 does. We haven't seen it for real, as I say. We're 4 weeks away from the actual cover and this daft paint scheme coming off it. But already you know there's going to be nothing else on the road like it. And I think that's going to be a real ace for BMW. I think the people who are going to buy the first iPad, the first iPhone, all those sort of guys, they're going to want the first i8. And I understand from BMW they've had 8,000 requests for test drives in the UK already, and around 1,000 deposits, and that bodes well for how this car's going to sell. It does point to the future. It is quite a complicated car, as I say. You're not conscious of it, and I can't wait to actually drive this on proper, on real roads. From this first taste, this could be one of the cars that will revolutionise where we go with performance cars in the future. So 2014 can't come soon enough.